let's be fair. No one likes to see a manager get sacked, but it's all part and parcel of the game. It's easier for a club to get rid of a manager rather than 25-man squad. So,
As much as sometimes you want to get rid of the 25, man.
Do you know what I mean? Sometimes people look at it and be like, oh, well, the manager's at fault, which at times it could be. But at the same time, if you got a bunch of players that don't want to buy into your philosophy or don't want to work for you, then, there's
It's
not
not
much
gonna
that you
work,
can do.
yeah.
And it could be a trickle-down effect because then it doesn't mean a next.
Hi there, guys, and welcome to a Dash in Sports Premier League show. I'll be your host and presenter, Dashiki Dash, and on today's show I have a returning guest, none other than Coach Gerald Lammy, aka Coach G, and we'll be chopping it up and discussing all the firing and hiring of Premier League managers so far this season. We'll also be discussing the SPL, the Scottish Premier League versus the English Premier League, and despite having the likes of Celtic and Rangers, who are considered big teams in Scotland, are they in fact seen as smaller clubs compared to Premier League clubs? But before we get into the show today, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Smash that like button, comment and help me to get these subs up. I truly appreciate your love and support with that. And remember to press the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of my shows. And without further ado, let's jump straight into the show. Hi there, guys, and welcome back to a Dash of Sports Premier League show. I'm back with my broski, Coach G, Gerald Lammy in the building. How you doing, my bro?
I'm blessed, man. Blessed. Looking forward to it as always. Jumping on and chopping up with yourself, man. So yeah, I'm looking forward to today's conversation, and yeah, man, looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, 100%. It's been a minute, but we're back. And just wanted to, obviously I shouted at you on the phone and the DMs and stuff, and I said, listen, there are managers being sacked left, right, and center. We're already on 5, firings already, and then also if 5 go, 5 need to come in. So I wanted to run through that. Obviously, as well, a funny thing that we was chatting about is in terms of like how the Scottish fan base, the SPL, how they revere the Premier League, because you got the teams up there like Rangers and Celtic that are pretty much revered as big clubs. But every time you get a manager that's in Celtic, that's in Rangers, they eventually want to then come to the Prem. So one of this just obviously discuss the managerial, the managers in the SPL and the Premier League. And then last but not least, we'll just go through the games that's coming up over the weekend off the back of this international break. And you already know
Finally, bro.
Yeah. How did you find the international break? Just quickly.
Do you know what? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of them, and I know there's been conversations. I heard, I watched Rio's conversation with Wenger and like FIFA in terms of going forward of, are these games appropriate during the season? A lot of players are getting burnt out. Are we going more so? Can we do rather than a 4-year World Cup? Can we do it every 2 years so the games are a little bit more competitive? So yeah, man, for me, I kind of switch off. I went to the Albania versus England game.
Yeah, talk about that quickly, man, because you got that up on your show. You got
yeah. So I've got it up on my YouTube channel, a vlog about it. So we got smashed. Albania, if you don't know, I'm from Albania. So I was that was my first time to go and watch them as well live. So it wasn't a good memory. However, yeah, we've got a young side. We've got a very young side. We're rebuilding. Considering the young side, we've done well in the qualifiers. The 1-2 games that maybe we should have won and we kind of lost last minute against Poland. I think we lost last minute. So yeah, we're rebuilding. We lost 2 players within like the first 15 minutes, which kind of shaped up everything. And then obviously England's quality showed, and yeah, it was 5-0. I think second half they just kind of took the foot off the pedal a little bit and kind of just let the young boys. Emil Smith-Rowe, first game for him as well for England, which last night he scored and got an assist, and Ramsdale clean sheet. Saka got involved as well. So yeah, man, overall it's nice to see the Arsenal players in particular doing well, and hopefully they come back fit and ready for the season, man.
You just obviously touched on like the young players, especially coming out of Arsenal. Is there any like up and coming players in Albania, the Albanian international team?
Yeah, we got Broha, he plays for Southampton, the Southampton striker. He's on loan from Chelsea, so he's one to look out for, and he's had a good start with Southampton already. He hasn't featured a lot. He's come off the bench quite often, but I think the last two games he did start, and I think he done well. So yeah, I would say he's our main player at the moment. That's coming through.
Cool, cool, cool. That it's always good to see like young prospects coming through, and obviously as we're both Arsenal fans. That's
Yeah,
all I was looking at. I was just like,
yeah,
boy,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not really into this international business. I
yeah,
was
yeah,
more
yeah.
looking at like our young players. I was looking at Vlahovic at
Hmm.
Serbia, and I'm just like, okay, let's see what he can do today
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
obviously
yeah.
he's been linked to Arsenal and stuff like that. So pretty much when it comes to international, it's more of a scouting mission for me,
Hmm.
just to see
Hmm.
uh, you know any of our players doing well, or if any players that we're linked with, we can see how well they're doing. But enough of them international
Yeah.
baits and stuff like that, man. Let's get into the nitty gritty, the firing and hiring of
Yeah,
Premier
man.
League managers this season. Before I even get into the names, how have you been feeling about like the managers, the quality of managers so far this season?
Yeah, do you know what? The Prem's always delivering in terms of it's all eyes are on the Premier League around the world. So we're always gonna get the best of the best players, managers, coaches. Um, yeah, and it's business as usual at the top,
Mm,
Tuchel, Pep, Jurgen Klopp. They're all doing it, they're all doing a business as per usual, man. And again, going back to that list, we spoke a little bit off air. Everyone thought Arteta was going to be on that list before everyone. Do you know what I mean? Everyone thought Arteta is going to be the first one, and he's proved it,
100%.
and he's proved everyone wrong. Do you know what I mean? And you know what? Let's be fair. No one likes to see a manager get sacked, but it's all part and parcel of the game. It's
Mm.
easier for a club to get rid of a manager rather than 25-man squad. So,
As
that's
much as sometimes you want to get rid of the 25, man.
Do you know what I mean? Sometimes people look at it and be like, oh, well, the manager's at fault, which at times it could be. But at the same time, if you got a bunch of players that don't want to buy into your philosophy or don't want to work for you, then, there's
It's
not
not
much
gonna
that you
work,
can
yeah.
do. And it could be a trickle down effect because then it doesn't mean the next manager will have success. They might have a short term success, but then in the long term, behaviors and patterns might creep up again. So, yeah, but overall, the managers in the Prem, we're seeing top managers coming in. We've seen Gerard, which we'll go into it as
Yeah, we'll
well,
go
coming
into.
into the Premier League. We've heard the likes of Zidane being linked to United. Conte's back back in the Premier League. So the Prem's on fire, man.
Yeah. So let's just get into the list. As we know, we're alluding to managers already coming in. Let's go through the managers that have already been sacked,
Hmm.
fired, however you want to say it. So we first had in October, early parts of October, we had Cisco Munoz. Is it Munoz? Munoz?
Munoz, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
of Watford. Then followed by Steve Bruce
Hmm.
later on in the later stages of October. Then we had Nuno Espirito Santo in November. Yeah, unfortunately, he only got a short stint at Tottenham. Then we
Was that
had
the
Daniel.
Portuguese that came out, bro? The accent.
Yeah, you know how to pronounce it properly. And then you got Daniel Farke of Norwich City,
Hmm.
and then Dean Smith of Aston Villa. Any surprises there of firing there?
Do you know what? The first one, Watford one, to be honest with you, I think I was speaking to Deluded, and I was saying, I think for me,
Shout out Deluded, shout out
yeah,
Deluded.
big up Deluded Guna, check him out. I did say he will probably be the first one that's gonna go.
Mm.
The Watford manager.
Is that because of just how Watford are just ruthless with their managerial
Yeah,
hiring
yeah.
and firing,
Bit
firing
of
and hiring?
both. Yeah, bit of both really in terms of like Watford's approach to changing managers. I think in terms of style of play, you
Mm.
couldn't really see anything, and especially if you're fighting for your life at the bottom of the table, you just need someone just to get results. It's not about playing that good football. We've seen Brentford that you could see, he has a style, the manager's got a style of play and the approach to running a club, there is a philosophy. So Yeah, I think that was that second one, Brucey. I think that was gonna happen. Obviously, the
Yeah,
takeover, and that was
that was
inevitable.
that
You know
was
what I mean?
inevitable. And what as you mentioned when you open up in regards to we nobody wants to see a manager like lose their
Hmm.
job or get fired. I think out of any manager that's ever been fired, Steve Bruce one has been the real sub story. Like
Yeah, yeah,
he's been grilled from the get go, and it's
yeah.
it's it's just mad because obviously we spoke about the
Yeah, yeah,
whole Newcastle takeover. If
yeah,
you've not
yeah, yeah.
watched that show, make sure you go and click on
Hmm.
that. That's me and Coach G talking about the Newcastle takeover and the fact that he's Newcastle's own, in it. He's
Hmm.
Newcastle's very own. Yes, he managed Sunderland. Yes, he's been elsewhere, but he went home trying to help the situation there. Let's not forget, man, Mike
Yeah.
Ashley was there for like 14, 15 years. They
Hmm.
were in dire straits, and they needed someone in it, especially after Rafa Benitez as well. And he's gone there and he's tried his best.
Hmm.
Like, with all that Mike Ashley's done to the club, he's tried his best, but he never got the respect that from his own people. That's the
Yeah,
worst thing
yeah.
about it. Like, sometimes like, oh, you've come home, people are embracing you, no
Hmm.
matter what you do, they full back in full support, but he never got that. And inevitably, once the takeover was signed, sealed, and delivered,
What's gonna
he
happen,
was
man?
he was gone.
He got a
Um,
big payout as well, though, bro. Don't forget that. He look,
Boy,
he looks like he don't need to coach no more, or manage. Do you know what I mean?
man look hella drained though, man.
He looked drained, but once that drops into his account, he's gonna be like, "Yep, baby, we made it." You know what I'm saying? Like, he's good. Do you know what I mean? So, but
Oh man.
yeah, I think again, a lot of people when it comes down to managers or fans, should I say, if it's not a sexy name, they're just like, ah
Mm,
man, you've been there, the football, the style of play that you play is not the best, and Newcastle fans, rightly so, they deserve, a manager at a top name or whatever in terms of level. Like they've had the likes of Bobby Robson, Sir Bobby Robson, rest in peace. He's one of the greatest managers. Do you know what I mean? To
yeah,
to, to have managed before. So yeah, I think Newcastle fans, they do deserve, like I think which we spoke about. If there's any club that deserves some sort of lift, is Newcastle. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah, but for Brucey, he's all right, man. He's
He's
got
gonna be
he's
all
got
right.
he's gonna be all right. You know what I
He's
mean?
got his
He's sulking a
moolah.
little bit, but he's got his moolah coming in. Do you know what I mean? He'll be all right.
So then next on from that was who else? What about Nuno Espirito Santo?
Nuno, again, man. I don't know. I think that was inevitable as well, man. Like for a manager that he was what, ninth, 10th on the list to
Yeah,
be a manager.
there's a bit of a
So
setup.
it was a bit of a setup. It was more so like, well, we're gonna give you this amount of time. If you don't deliver in this amount of time, then we're gonna look at someone else. And you know, Conte being in the bushes, hiding somewhere, he's just lurking. You know what I mean? He's whether it was the United job or Tottenham, that was it. The
He was
Tottenham
like,
versus
boy,
United
it's
game.
time.
Yeah, he was just like, boy, whoever loses this one, I'm coming in for their job. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a bit I heard he's a good like good character, good man.
Mm.
But again, that doesn't get you far in football, boy. It's
You
all
know what
about
they say,
results.
nice guys, man. They finish last and all of that,
Yeah,
man.
man. And
So
Levy, he's sorry, bro, but
you got
Levy's just cutthroat as well. Do you know what I
listen.
mean?
Do you know what? I think a lot of Spurs fans were quite surprised, and I think other fans alike in terms of the ruthlessness on
Mm,
this occasion. Um, Considering the fact that Spurs were linked to Conte already
mm-hmm.
in the summer, they've not triggered that, and they've gone in for Nuno already with was it a 2-year deal? You can
Yeah.
already see with that in itself, like the confidence maybe Spurs had in Nuno wasn't
Mm-hmm.
so high. It seemed like a stopgap,
Yeah.
but you take your opportunities as you can and where you
Of
can
course.
to try and prove yourself. But I just feel like it just wasn't enough time for him.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of what he had, the resources, the players. You gotta remember, a load of the players. We spoke about this, and a load
Yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
players are from Poch's era. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So you've got Poch, you've then got
Mourinho.
Mourinho, then you've
Mm-hmm.
got the other interim stint as well with that he's come in. So that's like 3 or 4 managers
Mhm.
and in your time. So then when you're trying to then sell your dream and sell
Mhm.
your approach to things, it's not going to work. It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, Lord and behold, Nuno has been axed. So then we've gone to Norwich. Farke's gone. I always knew that was going to be the
Yeah.
situation. I don't know, man. How did you feel about his stint in the Premier League again?
It was the same as last time he came, really. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of like carbon copy. He came up, didn't really do the best. They did have an approach where there wasn't scared to play against teams. But in terms of like again, him as a manager, I think he's done as much as he can for Norwich. It's more of like a yo-yo club, really. So I think Dean Smith coming in, I think I like Dean Smith as a manager. At first, I was a
Mm,
bit unsure of him, but what he's done at Villa, I think just shows what he's capable of doing. And a lot of managers in the Premier League as well have got good things to say about Dean Smith. So I think him going in there will steady the ship. Whether they'll stay up, I'm not too sure. They have made a lot of signings, so it's about gelling the team together. And he's got to come in again, like he said. This can he implement his style of play, his vision, um, and in the Premier League, them games come thick and fast. There's no waiting around, and you know
100%.
what I mean. So yeah, I think with Daniel Farke, I think he done the most that he can. Will he get another job? Of course he will.
100%. Yeah.
He'll definitely get another job somewhere else, whether it's in England or abroad. So yeah, man, I think Norwich. I think it was time for them to have a change as well, because I think he's been there for quite a while as well.
Yeah.
Um,
I always thought that them if Norwich were ambitious, then they needed to get rid of him.
yeah,
And
yeah,
in all due respect in it, but
mm-hmm,
it's you've this is your second stint in the Premier League, and it hasn't
mm-hmm,
started nowhere near as good
yeah,
as the first time, where they were actually playing some
mm-hmm,
really good football. They
mm-hmm,
beat Man City like pretty
yeah.
much in the first few games of the season. Who's their striker again? What's his name
Oh,
again?
Pookie.
Pookie.
Pookie was on
Pookie
fire.
was
FPL.
on
He was
fire.
on fire. My
he
FPL.
was on
You know what I mean?
he was on fire. But this time around, whether or not you would say he wasn't backed properly, which is very difficult. I think
Yeah.
they spent about 50 million,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that was including some of the money that they got for Buendia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's 50 million
That's a
in the
that's a
Prem.
big player as well to lose.
Yeah,
Buendia.
big player who was a large contributor of goals and assists in the championship,
Mm-hmm.
as they made their way back up. So it was always going to be difficult to get to replace him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just obviously you touched on Dean Smith, and we'll go through the managers that are now being hired.
Mm-hmm.
But just lastly, the last manager to have been sacked was Dean Smith at Aston Villa, and obviously he's now gone to Norwich.
Mm-hmm.
Let's now start touching on the managers that have been hired. So Dean Smith has been sacked at Aston Villa, and now Stevie G is in the Premier League, and we will touch in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
SPO in the Premier League. But just obviously, what does Steven Gerrard being back in the Premier League mean to you?
Um, Again, it just shows the quality of personnel that's coming into the Premier League. You know, Steven Gerrard is a worldwide name. You know, everyone knows about Steven Gerrard in terms of his playing career, what he's done as a manager as well, or as a coach. He's earned his badges, he's earned his stripes, whatever you want to call it. Um, Speaking to a lot of coaches and managers that have interacted with him, he's very observant. He's very much so a learner. He doesn't impose, his name or his authority or his ego or whatever you want to call it. Again, he's coming in a way where he wants to learn. This is a new environment for him. He's
Mm,
not Steven Gerrard the player no more. He's Steven Gerrard the learner, the new coach. So starting with the youth at Liverpool, again, speaking to people that were in the same environment, he was just a sponge. He just wanted to learn as much as he could. And then he got his opportunity to go Rangers. It is a big club.
yeah.
Um, and I feel for me, he's done it the right way. He hasn't said, because I'm Steven Gerrard, the player, I must, get a big job straight away. If we compare it to Frank Lampard, his approach was different, and every manager's approach will be different. He
Mm,
more so said, well, I'm going to go for the big job straight away, whereas Gerrard's been patient. He's come back into the Premier League. Aston Villa's a good side for him to kind of get a feel of the Premier League as a manager, you know. So I think yes, it's I think it's good for both because he brings a winning mentality to Aston Villa. He
Mm.
brings that professionalism. Not to say that Dean Smith didn't in terms of, you know, he done a great job, but I feel like Gerrard as a player, he will earn that respect from the players itself just because of who he is. And I feel like his philosophy and the management team that he has around him as well, they're highly rated. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think
McAllister in that.
McAllister, Michael Beale as well. He's a well-known coach in the coaching industry. So I think they've got a good team. He's got a good team behind him. McAllister's been at Aston Villa before as well as an
Yeah.
assistant, so he knows the club. Um, I think this is his warm up for the Liverpool job. You
Yeah, I
know,
think if he was just trying to hold out for Liverpool, I think that would have been a tall order in terms
yeah.
of just jumping into that job straight
Hmm.
away. Like let him cut his chops in the Premier League with Aston Villa, which is a good team, and
Hmm.
can he can get a decent backing as well, Aston Villa,
Yep.
because they've got their billionaires there,
Hmm.
so they can spend money. They have done well in terms of like trying to build up a squad after Grealish has left. They've
Hmm.
used the Grealish money quite decently, bringing in Buendia.
Danny
They've brought
Ings,
in Danny Ings. They still got, the players that they had before.
Leon
Um,
Bailey.
Leon Bailey as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they've done quite well, because I think it would have been quite difficult just to be like, oh, we lost Grealish and then try and find a Grealish replacement.
Nah.
So
Yeah,
what
yeah,
they've
yeah.
done is just try to evenly spread the workload across the squad in itself. So it's a good move for him.
Hmm.
I feel like it, and we'll go into the SPO stuff in terms of like the quality between the both leagues and stuff like that. But I feel like just jumping to Liverpool would have been a tall order straight
Yeah,
away, and,
yeah.
and a lot of pressure as well. Um, just to touch on like Newcastle quickly,
Hmm.
and because I want to speak about Newcastle. Obviously, Conte going to Spurs. So Newcastle with their massive takeover, and as you said, we was maybe expecting a bit of a sexy name, but then it's Eddie Howe.
Hmm.
Like, how did you feel about that appointment, the hiring?
I think in the position that they're in at the moment, it was hard to kind of attract a bigger name just because they're in a relegation battle. I heard they're quite close to getting Unai Emery, but Emery kind of pulled out last minute and saying that he'd rather stay at Villarreal, Champions League team.
Mm,
But again, it just shows the power of the Premier League. That
he was
you got to
tempted.
manage it. He was tempted because the paycheck would have been nice. So
Mhm.
um, I think it's a good appointment just because again Eddie Howe, he's a young manager with he's got a good style of play. He done wonders for Bournemouth and made them an established Premier League team. Obviously, I know they got relegated eventually, but he kept them up for like 4 or 5 seasons, getting them from like League Two, and with a low budget as well. So I feel like him coming in, he's worked with the likes of Callum Wilson, Ryan Fraser as well, so he knows some of the team already. Um, I think it's a good fit. Whether I don't think it's a long term, but I
Mm,
feel like he will keep them up. He's a manager that knows the Premier League, and it's not a lot of money that they would have spent on Eddie Howe as well. Free manager, not with a club, no compensation to pay.
yeah.
So I think it's a short term fix for them until once they're established, bring in a few players from the Premier League clubs, and then yeah, I'm sure they'll bring in a
I,
big
I like
name.
I liken it to a bit like a Mark Hughes at City.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
so Mark
yeah.
Hughes done quite decent in the Premier League.
Hmm.
Was quite established, revered as a good manager, and then went to Man City. And a lot of people might not give him the credit of
Hmm.
him kind of starting that revolution there, but
Hmm.
he brought in the players that were needed. To kind of start giving him that star-studded look,
Hmm. Hmm.
and maybe wasn't as successful in terms of managing those players and those egos, but already it just kind
Yeah.
of got the ball rolling, and he started off the project. So in terms of maybe Eddie Howe, and the work that he done that at Bournemouth, managing young players, getting a style of play. He's a coach. A coach's
Yeah.
coach, innit?
Mm-hmm.
So with the players that Newcastle have now, maybe he might be able to get a fine tune, because their battle right now is not to how much money they're going to spend. It's going to be
Yeah.
about surviving, because all of them billions, and then you're in a championship, that's going to be looking a bit mad. So that's his primary objective, not to get them relegated, so that they can obviously push on, and then obviously see what they can do there. Conte at Spurs.
Yeah. Big
Nuno's
man.
gone, Conte's in.
The
How
big
you
man.
how you feeling about that?
Do you know what? At first, I was like, "Oh man, they got Conte. You know, he's a big
Yeah,
manager."
but
And you know what I mean? I was like,
crumbling,
"Yeah, I
man.
was on you. I was on you." I was like, "Bro, they got Conte, man. I'm jealous and all of that." But then you said, "Bro, don't worry, man. Like,
It's
it's
a
gonna be all
difficult
right."
job.
Do you know what I mean? It's a difficult job, and looking at it now, I conceded how difficult it can be, because you still have players there that don't want to be there. You still have a mentality, like you said, of previous managers. As much as Conte is ruthless as well, you know, he doesn't take anything from anyone. If you're not performing, if you're not working hard, then you're out the door. Do you know what I mean? But again, he's given an 18-month contract. So it's a thing where when players look at it, it's like, well, you're not going to be here for that long, are you? Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I don't know, it's a strange one to kind of to put my finger on. But will he do well? I think he will do a reasonable job. It's a tough job, like he said. So
Mm,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That one, I'm a bit 50-50 with that one. It could go either way. It just depends on the back in. Will he get back in January?
yeah.
Um, will the players respond to his type of management? Because, like I said, that style
Ruthless
of management,
aggression.
yeah, that style of management is just like only the even the top elite players sometimes find that difficult. So, which we've seen in the past, you know, he's at Chelsea, at Inter Milan. If you're not cutting it, you're gone. So, how are these players going to react to that? Do you know what I mean?
My thing is this: they've had top managers, them
Yeah,
players, Poch, Mourinho, however you
yeah,
want to see at what stage of his career in terms
hmm
of being a manager, and now they got Conte. Nuno's not a bad manager himself,
hmm
and all four managers have not been able to get a fine tune out of these players,
hmm
or for them to reach their potential.
hmm
So, like I said, yes, Conte is a top manager. If anybody can get something out of these players, it'll probably be a manager of his
hmm
a quality and
yeah,
ability. But it's a tough job, so we just got to kind of see how he'll be able to manage that. He's got 18 months. What can he do within these
hmm
windows? Can he get the players in? Our Spurs going to be looking to spend money, because he's a guy that spends a lot of money. Even when he was at
hmm
Inter, you're looking at he's getting players of that are pretty much, not to say they're in their twilight, but he's brought them
hmm
in. Experience, I think the word I'm
yeah,
looking for.
experience.
Like your Youngs, Sanchez, he's brought them in and stuff like that. But they cost a lot of money.
Hmm
So these experienced players are not going to come on a cheap. And also a load of teams are also going to be smelling like, oh, you guys are desperate for players here.
hmm
So we're going to ramp up the money for that. So
hmm
it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not they're going to spend that money. Um, I wasn't going to touch on this one, but it's kind of gone on a wayside. But Watford with Ranieri,
Mr. Tinkerman.
former Leicester manager,
Mm,
champion himself, but then he's obviously gone to Watford. A load of
yeah.
people thought that he might be able to come there and do that, spread his magic that he did at Leicester and then bring it to Watford. But how difficult of a job is that then for him?
Yeah, very, very difficult. And again, I can't remember if it was I spoke to you or deluded. I can't remember which one it was, but I did say that, you know, the Watford team is quite similar, excuse me, quite similar to the Leicester team that he had. Um in terms of like personnel, players, quality as well.
You think
I
so? You,
feel
you think you think they got that their Vardy there, they got their Mares and the
I think
Kantes there?
I think they're not at the same caliber, but in terms of style, I think
Okay.
he has got a few players there. Like you have Josh King. I feel like he can be effective, which has used him quite often since he's come in. You got João Pedro as well, very good player. He could be like the Mahrez. You got a solid defense as well. William Troost-Ekong. He's had a bit of a hard time coming in, but I think he will come good. Yeah, I think they've got a decent team. Like to kind of, you got Ben Foster again, someone who's experienced in the Premier League, so he
Mr.
knows how to.
GoPro.
Mr. GoPro, Mr. YouTube himself, like he's a great guy as well. Um, so yeah, man, I feel like he can get. And again, the Arsenal game kind of showed it, where I don't feel like we should have lost it, but at the
Mm,
same time, it could have gone the other way. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I feel like Ranieri. I think he'll do Ranieri stuff. Do you know what I mean? I think he'll keep them up. I think Watford will stay up. But to do what he done at Leicester, I don't think we'll see that again for another, I don't know, maybe
God
30, 40
knows.
years. God
Yeah,
knows when. Do you know what I mean?
that
Because
that was that was
that was magical,
absolute
man.
magic.
Mm,
Absolute magical. And yeah, one of like, if you're a sporting person, whether or not you watch football or not, you need to admire those magical moments, because
hmm.
Leicester had no chance. The previous season it was almost relegated,
Yeah.
and then the next season the Tinker Man himself comes there, shakes things up, and then finds a style that just, yeah, man. We was just like, nah, they're gonna lose. They're gonna drop
Yeah,
points.
there was all, yeah.
Nah, come January, they're
Hmm.
gonna, nah.
They're
Oh,
gonna
hold on a
drop
second.
points.
What's
They're
going on
still
here?
there. They're
Boom,
still there. Do
boom. And
you
once
know
they
what I
got into
mean?
the home straight, they were gone,
Yeah, yeah,
gone, gone.
yeah.
That sort of thing like, just to quickly touch on that, because Arsenal were not great during that season, but
We should have won it though.
we was the only
Yeah,
big team
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
close enough to
yeah.
Leicester to be like pushing them, because everybody
Hmm.
else was just having a shocker of a
Shocker.
season,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we just couldn't run them down.
Hmm.
That game at the Emirates, Danny Welbeck scores that
Yeah,
late goal. We're
yeah, yeah,
thinking,
yeah, yeah.
okay, this is where it gets on,
This
but
is yeah, 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 yeah.
the inconsistency that Arsenal have shown over the
Yeah, man.
seasons, it just hurts, man. It really
We
hurts.
should have won that.
We
Quick one
should have
though,
won.
bro. Are
Go
you
ahead,
looking forward to watching the Invincible documentary?
bro. I've been trying to watch it. Obviously, the way we can,
Yeah,
but it's not up there,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
I have to go and watch it.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
proper way, as they
yeah,
say.
yeah.
But I am
I'm waiting
looking.
for it to come out in theaters.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
No, I am looking forward to watching it. Wenger, uh, say what you want to say.
Yeah.
I've been very critical of him, but
Mhm.
I think to explain the criticism on my behalf is when you have high standards for someone,
Mm.
high standards for your club, and you've seen what someone's already provided and
Yeah.
done, and then when they go below par, I think is in with anything that you do,
Mhm.
you should question, like, the ability of someone once they start going below par, and we did. I was a Wenger out person,
Mhm.
but that
Was you? Yeah.
experience, yeah, I was a
Yeah.
Wenger out person,
Okay.
but my experience from that also taught me a lot in terms of understanding football a lot more, in terms of what a manager has to really go through. Wenger, from the time that David Dean left,
Mhm.
was pretty much the be all and end all of
Mhm.
Arsenal. That
Mhm.
is very difficult,
Mhm.
to be the manager of a club. Not many managers out there, really. Majority are now just coaches.
Mhm.
Obviously, Arteta is trying to assume that manager role, but it's very
Yeah.
difficult to be dealing with the transfers, be dealing with the players, contracts, who's coming in, who's going out, and all of that. And the youth
Stadium
team,
building, bro. He was part of
bro,
that as well.
it's a lot of stuff. And he put himself in a position to be the buffer between the board and the fans and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So he took a load of the brunt of things. You know, should he have done that? Yes or no? A load of stuff that he's been coming out with lately is a lot of regrets in terms of how he
Mhm.
handled the last stages. Maybe he should
Mhm.
have gone. So in
Mhm.
hindsight, I think he can kind of, maybe he won't admit it, but he kind of agree with a load of us fans that were saying, yo, your
Yeah.
time is up. You should have left maybe when you won the FA Cup after a long
Mhm.
stint without winning trophies. But to cast that aside, what a manager. We're not going to see
Bro.
the likes of Wenger,
No.
Fergie, them type of managers
No.
again. I don't know how
No.
you feel
No,
about.
no, likewise, as we're talking about, managers being dismissed, and we're in a, like you said, we're in an era of short-term projects, as they call it these days. They call it a project. We're not going to see the likes of Wenger or Fergie staying at a club for 20 years.
20
You know what I
years.
mean? That's a very long time. And for me, just seeing like trailer, I'm looking forward to watching it. But just been listening to the conversation between David Dean and Wenger with Dermot O'Leary, and
Mm,
um and it kind of, it was quite sad because what he's done for the club, the stature that we're in, the the publicity that we have for the club is down to them two.
hmm
In terms of, again, having someone on the field and off the field is very, very important, because you can't do both. It's very difficult. And Wenger had someone in David Dean that, they bounced with each other very, very well. And once David Dean left, like he said, I think that was it. And Wenger said he was going to leave as well. He said he was going to leave, but it was David Dean that convinced him to stay. Um, which he stayed on for another, what, 13 years. So he done
Yeah.
well. David Dean said, well, that's because I had shares and I wanted him to stay. So, but yeah, I feel like with Wenger, he needs to still be part of the club. I'm very surprised that he's not. And I did hear Arteta saying that I think he's put up like pictures of quotes of Wenger around the club. He
Mm,
feels like that's the identity of the club, which is rightly so. He has built Arsenal to what it is, alongside David Dean, and he feels that he wants him to still be part of the club at whatever capacity, whether it's upstairs, which I felt like he should have still been part of it, but
mm.
maybe it was the right time as well to kind of, or give it time as well for him to go away, and for fans to actually realize how much he's actually done. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like fans do know, but it's that little bitter moment between fans and Wenger, and like you said, maybe he should have gone at that time. But I do want to see him back at the club. To be honest with you, at whatever capacity, I do feel like
Yeah.
he is the identity of the club. His brain is like
Top level. The
top level,
professor.
and that's the word. He's the professor, and I know a lot of managers contributed to the Premier League, but in terms of changing the mentality of the Premier League and to what it is today, it's him, and obviously a big part with Fergie as well. I feel they were the two pillars of the
Staples.
Premier
Yeah.
League. Yeah, man. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to watching it, and also he needs a statue as well at the club. He deserves it,
100%. He
or
deserves.
a stand to be named after him.
I think he's kind of put hold on that, because there were a few times that they were looking to make the statue for him, and he was just like, nah, he didn't want it.
Mm,
But I think after this documentary,
yeah,
I feel very much so his hand, is going to be tied in regards to
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You
yeah.
get the statue. Two statues that I want to see outside of Emirates. I want to see Wenger and I want to see Patrick Vieira. Um,
Yeah, man.
in terms of he's
Yeah.
the invincible captain. I know that
Mm-hmm.
it isn't on the list of in terms of like well, he came in the summer in it when Roy
Yeah.
Hodgson's gone, so effectively he's a new manager in the Premier
Yeah, yeah,
League
yeah,
as
yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
doing very well. And he's also done a similar thing, going, being at Nice,
Mm-hmm.
having stints in the MLS. He's come, he's
Mm-hmm.
done his rounds, and then obviously now coming into the Premier League
Mm-hmm.
with Crystal Palace, showing a style of football that
Mm-hmm.
was very synonymous to Roy Hodgson, and he's come in and he's changed that completely in
Mm-hmm.
such a short stint. A lot of the times as Arsenal fans, we've been complaining and saying, like, Arteta's not really given us an identity
Mm-hmm.
and it's taking this long. But Vieira's gone in there and he's done it very quickly. So,
Mm-hmm.
you have to give him his kudos in terms of that. And it just shows you the type of footballing man he is,
Mm-hmm.
from being a player at Arsenal and now obviously in terms of his managerial career. And for me, I would love to see, our invincible captain. Come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just take that in terms of, like, pause in terms of what that
Pause.
means.
Mm-hmm.
Invincible captain. There will be no other
Mm-hmm.
that lifted the
He was the
trophy.
man.
The
He
man.
was the
So
man.
he really needs a statue. Probably not now because obviously he's managing in the Premier
Yeah,
League,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
maybe one day if he
Mm-hmm.
if he continues the way he's going, maybe manage Arsenal. So it's probably going to be a long way away from him getting a statue. But one day I hope he gets that.
Yeah.
You know?
I think with him, I think there's been behind the scenes like politics. I think it
Yeah,
was
because
when
he went
I
to
think
City.
he left as well. I think he left when we I think when did he leave? He left in
After the
2000 and after the Invincibles, right?
no, after the FA Cup, he was that. No, it wasn't Invincible season. Was it Invincible season?
I think he left like 2005, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. So it was after the FA Cup final,
Yeah, yeah. I think
and
he left
and
and
we
we
begged him
needed
for
him
we
apparently.
begged him for one last
One more,
season.
yeah, and I think he just left and he went Juve or something like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's where. And then obviously he went City, and but again, someone like him, like you said, he's done his rounds. He's done the youth team at City, done that for a couple of years. He's gone to the MLS, he's gone to France. Now he's back here, and I know you just mentioned in terms of Arteta, people got to remember as well. This is his first job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of
Do you know what I
course,
mean?
of
This is
course.
his first managerial job, so he's gonna make mistakes. There's gonna be elements of understanding, what is he doing, like sort of thing.
Mm.
So, and again, he hasn't done he's done an assistant role, but in terms of like the managerial, this is a big job to take on, not just stature wise, but also like the mentality that these players had. Do you know what I mean? So,
That's why I
yeah,
mentioned the fact that he's assumed the role of a manager
yeah,
at Arsenal.
yeah.
So not even just had a stint as a coach
Hmm.
for a number of years, and
Hmm.
then he wants to take full responsibility.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of talk as well that how he walks around the club, how he carries himself,
Hmm.
is head honcho, el
Yeah, yeah,
jefe,
yeah.
el patron, Mikel
Yeah, yeah,
Arteta.
yeah, yeah. But so far, we still got a long way to go. But he's done all right, man. He's done all
Yeah,
right. That you could see, again, I've said it before, where when you see players thrive in international level as well, and they get called up for the first time, that comes down to the coaching staff and managers. With the likes of Emma Smith Rowe, he's getting call ups. Remember when we saw Maitland Niles, he was getting
yeah,
call
yeah,
ups as well.
yeah.
So
So
it
that's the
just
back of
shows.
off the back of Arteta.
Ramsdale just got back into the England team as well. I'm surprised Ben White didn't get involved, but
Mm.
yeah.
But that's
So
that. That's I think out of two managers that maybe we thought at the start of the season that have escaped this list of the
they've escaped
firing
it. Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
Oli and
Mm-hmm.
Arteta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
yeah,
obviously
yeah,
you
yeah,
touched on Oli in terms of not Oli, but you touched on Zidane
yeah.
being touted possibly could be the next manager of Man United. How do you think in terms of Oli? Do you reckon he's close to the door, or
This
he's
guy's got 9 lives, bro. I don't know how he just always manages to kind of escape the last minute, and then, do you know what I mean? I feel now, it, unless Zidane really wants it, then I can't really see anyone else kind of going for a job. I know Brendan Rodgers has been linked, but I don't know. I can't really see him going there as well at
mm,
this present moment, because of the relationship that he has with the board, over there at Leicester. So yeah, you need a big name. You need a big name to come into that role. You got
yeah,
big egos now. You got the likes of Pogba, Ronaldo,
Ronaldo?
Bruno, Varane. Like, do you know what I mean? There's big players there, and I
Mm.
feel like the only guy that can come in at this moment to do a job and for players to listen is Mr. Zizou. And he knows these players as well. Do you know what I mean? He's worked with the likes of Ronaldo before when he's at Real Madrid. He's worked with Varane, obviously at Real Madrid. He knows of Pogba, France. So what are you gonna say to Zidane,
Yeah,
bro?
you're not gonna say
Do you know what I'm
nothing to
saying?
Zidane.
He'll
That's
still pop
Zizou,
it around in training right now. Do you know what I'm saying? If
hundred
you want to
percent.
talk, let's do a one-on-one right now, and I'll show you. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
Which he
like,
was showing many players at Madrid. He
many
was
players, bro.
always
He's
joining
still
in.
techie, still techie. There's not
Still
much,
techie.
and also his CV backs it as a player and as a manager. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? He's won what 3 Champions League back to back, 4 in total. So
So you can't say much
you
to him.
can't say much to him. Do you know what I
And
mean?
I think those players need that.
Yeah,
I know it
yeah.
sounds once again, it sounds like a sexy name and all that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
but I feel that these United players need someone in the club. And no
Hmm.
disrespect to Brendan Rodgers, because I know he's a great manager, and he can do bits if need be. But I think at this point in time, with the players that they have at this stage of
Hmm.
United in the Prem, they need someone that can go into the change rooms and say, "Look, this is how I did it. This is
Hmm.
how I won these trophies,
Hmm.
and this is how I'm going to get you lot to be
Hmm.
champions or win trophies and stuff like that, so that
Hmm.
you're not just sitting there thinking to yourself, but you ain't won nothing though, like what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
do definitely need a manager that has done bits won stuff, so that their players can't be in doubt of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, whether or not this this manager can do stuff. So just obviously conscious about time and stuff, but I just wanted
Yeah, we
to,
digressed, people. We
yeah,
digressed
we
a little bit.
digress. Quickly, just going on to what I've really just been wanting to touch on in
Yeah.
terms
You've
of
been
like
on it.
managers, SPL
Mm-hmm.
and Premier League. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I've listened to many outlets and programmings on radio or YouTube, and the fan base up there in the SPL who really revere their clubs, especially Celtic and Rangers, as big clubs. Let me just touch on that quickly. Celtic and Rangers, are they big clubs?
100%, bro. They're definitely big clubs. In terms of history, in terms of what they've achieved along the years. They're European teams. They play in the European competitions. Yeah, I definitely in terms of stature as well, club fan base, facilities. They're definitely big clubs. I think they're too big of clubs to stay in Scotland. No disrespect to the Scottish Premier League, but I feel like they're huge clubs.
So, with that being said, then do Celtic fans and Rangers fans like, do they need to accept the fact that the fact that they're big clubs, but when it comes to the Premier League, they're pretty much small fry.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think it's not this. I don't think it's the club itself. I think it's the exposure of the Premier League, like compared to the
Okay.
to the Scottish. I think the Scottish come out of me Scottish. I think it's coming out. Hey, the spirit came in me. It's Scottish, like. But yeah, I feel like it's more so the exposure of the Premier League compared to the SPL league. The money, the players that's involved, the teams that you'll be coming up every week. It's a place where you get challenged a lot. And not to say that the Scottish Premier League is a bad league. I've spoken to players that play in the league, and they say it's not a joke. Do you know what I mean? As much as you might be going to a team that some people might not have heard of, it's a tough league to play. It's cold. It's sometimes you're playing on artificial grass. Like
It's gritty.
it's gritty. It's very physical. Um, so yeah, in terms of like comparisons, obviously the Premier League we're talking about the one of the biggest brands in history, let alone in the sports industry. So yeah, I feel like regardless whether you're there at Celtic or Rangers, if a Leicester comes in, which we've seen Brendan Rodgers, if a
Yep.
Aston Villa comes in, it's difficult to say no because those are clubs with facilities as well. If anything, probably even better as well at the same time. Um, and again, like I said, the exposure. Once you do well in the Premier League, it opens up other doors, to other possibilities. So I think it's more so the exposure rather than the focus on the club
The
itself. Do
club
you know what I
itself.
mean?
So
Yeah.
with that, because there's a lot of backlash.
Yeah.
If we cast our minds back to Brendan Rodgers leaving Celtic, at the point, pretty much they were on all fronts in terms of
Hmm.
competitions, everything. He's decided to leave Leicester, which didn't seem as a desirable club,
Hmm.
to the Scottish fans, the Celtic fans, because you're thinking, wow, you're at Celtic. This is,
Yeah. Yeah.
as we keep alluding to, is the fact that they're a big club, but you've gone to Leicester.
Hmm.
Stevie G now, this is of more recent. He's at
Hmm.
Rangers. They're flying high. They're in Europe. They're in competitions. I think he's left them in the semi-finals of a trophy, of a
A
cup,
final. He's got
a
a final.
final. There
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And he's up and left. Do you think it's fair for Rangers fans to begrudge him of the move that he's done, or is as their fans of
Hmm.
Rangers, is how
Yeah.
they're feeling about it?
I get both sides. I definitely get both sides because you're looking at it thinking, well, you're coming to a club. Well, you're here at a club where you can win trophies, but at the same time, he was invincible with the Rangers team. He got them to the title for the first time in 10 years. I think that it's been a both way sort of thing where he's brought success. He's installed a mindset, a mentality at the club that when the next manager does come in, there's things in place. Now for Gerard or a manager in general, you want to be challenged. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to just be sitting on the top of the tree all the time. It's kind of like a fake sort of success because you're like,
Mm,
we've got the best facilities, we've got the best players. You're expected to win. Do you know what I mean? Um, Whereas if he's come in, like say for instance, Brendan Rodgers, obviously Leicester won a Premier League title, and there would have been conversations of this is what we're looking to do. This is the project that we have in mind, which you've seen now. Look at the training ground that they have is one of the best in Europe. He won the FA Cup with them as well. So
Mm.
there has been progression with Brendan Rodgers. He's missed out on top four, twice now, 3 times.
Free,
So
yeah.
yeah, so it's like it's a different project, and like I said, but I get the fans what they're saying. You know, they're coming from an emotional point of view as well. But the likes of Gerrard, he's thinking, I want that Liverpool job as well. If I showcase what I can do with Aston Villa, then it makes the conversation a lot easier. This is Gerrard, Liverpool legend, but
Mm.
if he does a great job at Villa, it's like, all right, cool, sign still delivered. You're definitely in. Do you know what I mean? Which it was going to happen anyway, regardless if he's going to Villa or not. But
Yeah.
just it gives him a taste as well of Premier League managerial experience. So yeah, man, it's a hard one. It's definitely a hard one.
It's a difficult one because I don't know if there is gonna be a situation where Scottish fans are going to accept the
Hmm.
fact that it is what it is, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
at the end of the
Hmm.
day, like no matter how much you try and look at it, no matter how much you revere your club as being a top club up there in Scotland, but at the end of the day, the lure of the Premier League is just it's just too large of a
Hmm.
of an opportunity to come and obviously cut your chops in the managerial world alongside some of the best managers
Hmm.
in the world. And
Hmm.
I'm not saying that Scotland don't have good managers.
Hmm.
We've seen Scottish managers come down to the Premier League, and we've got David Moyes at West Ham right now doing his
Yeah.
thing. Sir Alex Ferguson back in the
Hmm.
days. So I'm not saying in terms of your nationality it means that you're not a top manager, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying in terms of the pool of talent that's available for you to be either playing or
Yeah.
managing, you want to come to the Premier League.
Hmm.
And it's just difficult for Scotland. I think maybe until it's a situation where you have maybe Rangers and Celtic in English competitions, maybe FA Cups
Hmm.
or League Cups or something that just allows both teams from England, teams from Scotland to be able to play against each other every so often. Then maybe the exposure for Scotland might now then transfer over. But
Hmm.
obviously, we're dealing with two organizations, governing bodies of SPL, and then you've
Yeah.
got the Premier League, the FA. So it's going to be very difficult. But until then, until they can find something, until maybe Scotland can find a situation where they can maybe embed themselves in the English game
Hmm.
somehow,
Yeah.
then it's always going to be this situation. Because look at when Rangers dropped out of the Premier League.
Yeah.
Up there, it's just Celtic just holding it down on all
Hmm.
fronts, and then
Hmm.
there's no other teams. Your Hibs,
Yeah.
your Dundees, all of them
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
teams are
Yeah.
not. They're not matching
Hmm.
that global status of a club.
Hmm.
Everybody
Hmm.
knows Celtic. Everybody
Yeah.
knows Rangers. But
Hmm.
if one of them drops out, that's it.
It's
You know what I
difficult.
mean?
Yeah.
It's very difficult. Even now, Celtic are not even firing on all fronts, and like it's
Hmm.
just Rangers holding it down.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the two horse leagues that you
Hmm.
have out there is always going to be difficult. And I think it's just a situation where fans alike, whether you're a Celtic fan or a Rangers fan, you just need to accept when your manager's doing well,
Yeah.
it's
And
sayonara. He's gone.
he's gone, but and also in a positive light in terms of the league as well. It's a good foundation for coaches to go there and learn their trade. And we've seen Gerard go there, and he's learned a lot there. We've seen
Mm.
Brendan Rodgers after the Liverpool stint. There was a lot of criticism towards him, and he's gone to Celtic, and it's kind of like away from the limelight as such. And it gives them an opportunity to work on their craft, to work on certain things that maybe they'll have a lot of pressure doing it in the Premier League, whereas there's less pressure doing it in the Scottish Premier League. So it gives them
Would
an opportunity to grow.
would you say that in terms of comparison, Gerard having his stint up in Scotland with Rangers, doing what he did there, versus Lampard with
Mhm.
Derby in the Championship, which is the better experience?
Um, that's a good question, man. Derby again, big club. Championship is a
It's
hard
no
league to
joke.
play
Yeah,
in.
it's
No,
no joke.
championship is a hard league. I just feel like I feel like going to Rangers was a better option due to the exposure to Europe, going playing in
Hmm.
Europe as well.
Mm.
That adds that experience to a manager. Whereas if you're just in the championship, you're in the championship, you're
Yeah,
playing domestic cups, but you don't get that exposure going to Europe. So yeah, I think that was probably a better move for Gerrard to go up there and work with a club that needed help as well. Do you know what I mean? And he showed that he has got the capabilities of turning things around. So yeah, like as much as people want to say something about the Scottish Premier League, there is a lot of positives as well that you can get out of it. And even as a
mm,
player, you can go up there and learn a lot of things and come back to the Premier League. So yeah, yeah, it's hard, but
yeah,
like you said, I think we spoke off air and you said in terms of how to get these teams involved. Maybe if there's like a domestic cup, maybe getting them involved in, I don't know, maybe the FA Cup or something. Do you know what I mean? Getting them involved
yeah.
in a cup domestic sort of thing.
Scottish fans, man, we're trying for you. We're trying for you, man.
Yeah,
Like, listen, by all means, there's no disrespect to fans of Celtic,
not at all.
Rangers, or the league itself. We're just trying to put into a broader perspective of what the reality is in terms of the both leagues and the qualities of the leagues. Maybe not, yeah, yeah. We've got the
Yeah,
qualities of the league,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
obviously the commercial aspects of the leagues, and it's always going to be this situation until like there's some type of more exposure to the SPL, to just allow managers of higher quality to go there and maybe stay there with
Hmm.
other clubs as well, that try and get the other clubs to get to the levels of the Celtic and Rangers, and
Hmm.
then maybe the competition would spur on for people not just to jump ship on a whim. Just quickly, just to obviously round it off in regards to the managers, how well do you reckon Gerard's going to do, obviously moving from the SPL to the Premier League?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because we all don't know, but I do feel like he will do. I think he'll do all right this season. I think he'll implement in terms of a new mindset, mentality, like we spoke earlier on.
Hmm.
Him stepping into the training ground, people and staff and players will give him that respect, especially what he's done off the pitch as well with Rangers.
Mm.
Like he's coming in as a winner, like he's won the league. So it's not like he's just learning on the job again. He's actually come with some credentials on and off the pitch as well. So I think he's got enough players around him to kind of get the best out of them. I know Ings is injured at the moment, but yeah, I think
Yeah,
there's
that's a
enough
big
there.
miss.
Yeah, it's a big miss. I think they've got a good team. You got Ollie Watkins, Ings. We said Leon Bailey, McGinn, Scottish player again. There's a Tyrone Mings. I do rate Tyrone Mings. He hasn't had the best of performances as of lately, but yeah, I think Matty Cash. I think he's a good
Yeah,
right back as well. I
good
like
right
Matty
back.
Cash. Martinez, great goalkeeper. Last season we were saying he's probably the best goalkeeper in the Prem in terms of
Mm.
performance. So he's got a lot of players to work there. I think he'll do well. I think he will do well. Whether it's a European spot, that's difficult. It's a very difficult
Yeah.
thing to do, but he can emulate the likes of Leicester, what they've been doing, and try and challenge for that European spot. So I think overall he'll do well.
He would definitely get backed. Billionaires there, they've got their money. So, like we said, in terms of going to a club
Hmm.
that can kind of emulate being, let's say a top six, top four club,
Hmm.
he's got like a bit of a crash course that you can
Yeah.
go through there. So, in terms of handling money, in terms of buying players,
Hmm.
he's got it there to his disposal.
Thank you for watching another episode of a Dash of Sports Premier League show. I truly appreciate your love and support with that. And thank you to Coach Gerald Lammy for joining me on the show once again. And for those that need further information about future episodes or just your day-to-day sporting updates, then hey, come and check me out, man. I'm on Instagram and I'm also on Twitter, which is a Dash of Sports. I'll put it down below here at Dash of Sports, and I'll also leave the link in the description area along with Coach Gerald Lammy's links. And please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Smash that like button, comment, and help me to get these subs up. I truly appreciate your help with that. And don't forget to press the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of my shows. Until the next time here on the Dash of Sports Premier League show, peace.